Hi everyone, it's Jane Grohl, CEO of the DevOps Institute. I'm here with Ari from Red Hat. We're at DevOps World, Jenkins World in lovely San Francisco this week. And Ari, before we came on camera, we talked about the fact that we were both here last year. So first of all, welcome.
Thank you.
And
To
I'm
be
really
here.
interested in your perception or perspective of from last year to this year. What trends have you noticed in the last 12 months? What kind of buzz are you feeling here at the conference?
Yeah, I've noticed the shift now of and kind of being in the space myself is, it was a lot about Jenkins and DevOps, but now it's kind of been gravitating towards Jenkins X and cloud native Jenkins and using Kubernetes and how do we make Jenkins as a platform that can scale in that environment. A lot of companies now are embracing Kubernetes as their platform because it can run on-prem or off-prem in the cloud. And I think that's where I see the gravitation from last year to this year.
So Red Hat being in the space for more than a couple of years,
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen a lot in terms of maturity of enterprises, adoption. You mentioned about moving more cloud native, more cloud just in general. What are you seeing and how is Red Hat adapting to that?
Yeah, our customers, they want to develop a workflow that works for them, but also how they roll it out for operations folks. And they also want the ability to do that on-prem, but also in the cloud. So if they can expand their resources, and they want that feel the way that it gets rolled out to be identical. They don't want to have to like one thing for a cloud, one thing for on-prem, and it's a different configuration. So we're trying to model OpenShift and even OpenShift.io, which is our two main platforms there of OpenShift.io for developers from a GitHub repo or Git location, whether it's on-prem or it's up in GitHub. They can develop there and they have a streamlined way to plan their releases, roll them out either in a stage or run or production environment. And then they can also do that in on-prem or in the cloud. It doesn't make a difference.
So are you seeing more of a hybrid approach? And, because of that, whether it's on-prem or whether it's in the cloud, really being able to kind of keep the cadence the same and having some normality, I guess, or normalization.
Yeah.
Are you seeing more and more of that?
Yeah, I would say they want to keep that cadence and they want to keep the flow the same. So that's where kind of we're targeting is OpenShift is that platform where, well, whether it's running an OpenShift online or dedicated up on the cloud, or it's running on-prem in their environment, their developers and their operations folks are using the same tools to make that happen. And therefore, it's not a shift, and then it makes it easier for them to be predictable when they have a release coming out. And they also can scale if they want to roll something out. They don't have the resources on-prem, they can roll those out into the cloud.
Yeah, and I think you touched on something really important, scale.
Yeah.
Right, so a lot of organizations that might have done some proof of concept of DevOps in a small team or a particular product, now looking at how do we scale that across our enterprise. What are you seeing in terms of that?
So I think when it comes to scale, I mean, a lot of folks, including Cloud Bees, are embracing Kubernetes there, right? If they have that as kind of the layer to do the scheduling and scaling out of applications, and their applications are built cloud native, it makes them much easier to scale out. If they have more customers or they, all of a sudden they grow in a year, they need more resources, that platform allows them to expand. And OpenShift is built with Kubernetes and Docker, and we're headed in the space to have kind of, without Docker, using our own Cryo, which is another open container initiative. It's part of that. So it would work with Docker, but it also works with our own container framework as well.
Yeah, and I think when we start to look at kind of just around this conference, you and I were here last year. I was a couple of years ago. I don't know if you were here a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I think I was too.
Yeah, so we've definitely seen kind of the interest of the attendee and where they're kind of heading off with that. So what are your expectations about the conference? Any hint announcements you want to make with us?
I would say probably like OpenShift, we're looking into things like Knative build, really embracing the Kubernetes ecosystem, and seeing what comes out of that. We may be open source contributors to some of those projects to help enable them, which will enable us.
Awesome.
And it's not to say we're kind of moving away from Jenkins, but it would be maybe there's some primitive use cases that we could get away with using Knative and then supplement it with Jenkins as a more robust solution in that space. It's kind of some of the things that we're looking at right now. I would say too, the big thing that everyone asks for is like, once you do make these improvements or you make these adjustments, it's like, how do you value that? What's the metrics, or how do you rate your improvements and the value proposition there? And that's been a big theme here too with the DevOptics and trying to get that out of you have multiple environments, but how do you gather the data to say, well, we're really doing well here. These are our efficiencies. These are things we can improve upon. And I think the measurement is where that comes in. And without that, it's kind of missing, the total value proposition there.
Yeah, it's really interesting too, because I would say 2 years ago we were still stuck on what is DevOps.
Yeah.
And then we start to look at, this year, last year maybe we were, okay, how do we do it? And now it's like, how do we measure it?
Right.
And that's maturity, right? That's definitely looking at kind of
with any technology, that's basically the maturity, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. So thank you. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for spending some time with
Absolutely.
me.
It's good fun.
Hopefully people that are here will come and visit you at the booth to learn more about OpenShift, OpenShift.io.
Yep, we have our booth here, yep.
Awesome. So again, I'm Jane Grohl, DevOps Institute. I'm here with Ari from Red Hat. We're at DevOps World in San Francisco, wishing everyone a great conference and a great week. Perfect.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.